Do you believe in miracles that redefine the impossible? Do you believe that amidst the untamed vastness of nature, a gesture of courage and love can change the course of destiny? Prepare your heart, because the story I'm about to tell you today isn't just about majestic lions. It's about the miracle that unfolded beneath the dense canopies of Kruger National Park, an event that shocked the world and proved that the bond between humans and wild animals can be stronger than any roar, deeper than any instinct. Think for a second. Have you ever felt that undeniable connection with a living being that doesn't speak your language but seems to understand your soul? This story will make you feel that again, only on a scale that defies imagination. It was a morning like so many others, the dew still clinging to the tall grass and the scent of damp earth rising into the air, when destiny wove its web. Far from the curious eyes of the world, a lioness named Nala faced the greatest challenge of her life. She wasn't just fighting for her own survival. She carried within her the promise of a new generation, a new hope for the savannah. Her companion, the powerful Kovu, a king with a mane that radiated strength, stood vigil, but nature sometimes has its own plans, and not every battle can be won with just claws and instinct. Who would have thought that a mother's desperation in the wild would cry out for unexpected help, help that would challenge everything we know about the boundaries between worlds? What these two lions were about to endure, and who would emerge from the shadows to change everything, is something that will hold you until the very last second. If you love emotional animal stories, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out. In the vast and untamed Kruger National Park, where the sun paints the horizon orange and the air vibrates with wildlife, lived a pair of lions who were the epitome of royalty, Kovu and Nala. He, with his dense mane and piercing gaze, was the personification of strength. She, with the grace only lionesses possess, embodied intelligence and agility. Together, they dominated their territory, feeling the earth vibrate beneath their heavy paws with every step. Have you ever observed a pair of wild animals? The way they look at each other, the synchronicity of their movements? It's a beauty that makes us question what love truly means in different forms of life. Nala, during that period, had a visibly rounded abdomen in the last month of her pregnancy. The tension was almost palpable in the air, a mixture of anticipation and concern that even we, from afar, could feel. Kovu, her companion, transformed into the personification of loyalty. While most males can be more distant during gestation, Kovu became fiercely devoted. He hunted with even greater ferocity, bringing prey so Nala could eat and rest, always alert to her slightest discomfort. You could smell the freshly rained-on savanna, and with it, the strong scent of a father's anxiety awaiting the birth. Would you believe an animal could feel such human-like worry? They were inseparable. Nala, at times, would rest her head on Kovu's mane, a tender gesture that melted any heart. Interestingly, did you know that male lions generally don't actively participate in raising cubs after birth? They are more focused on protecting the territory. But Kovu was already showing he was different, that his paternal instinct went beyond the ordinary. This lesson in loyalty, in being present and protecting those we love, is something we carry for life, isn't it? Who hasn't had a moment when they needed to be someone's Kovu, their safe harbor? Nature has a way of teaching us the obvious in spectacular fashion. But nature, as you know, is also unpredictable. And what came next would test all limits. The time, which had previously seemed to drag on in anticipation of the pregnancy, now accelerated into peaks of despair. One morning, the air in the savannah grew heavy, not just with the heat, but with the tension emanating from Nala. She went into labor. And it wasn't an ordinary birth, like so many others that happen in nature. Quite the opposite. She felt agonizing pain, an agony that made her writhe on the dusty ground, her muffled moans echoing chokingly between the trees. It was heartbreaking to see the strength of a queen drain away before such a primal challenge. Kovu, who had been her rock until then, transformed. His eyes, normally calm, now burned with agitation. He paced in circles, the scent of sweat and fear clinging to his fur, and then a deep, hoarse roar tore through the forest's silence. It wasn't a roar of a hunter or of dominance, but a primal sound of alarm, of anguish, a plea for help that seemed to shake the leaves on the trees and the heart of anyone who heard it. Have you ever noticed how animals, even without words, can express such complex emotions that make us feel helpless? This instinct to call for help when the life of your family is at stake is something fascinating and universal. It's incredible to think that even amidst the wild grandeur, fear and pain are universal feelings. Lions, powerful as they are not immune to life's vulnerability. A curious fact about lion birth is that it usually lasts a few hours, and the mother isolates herself to ensure the safety of her cubs. But Nala couldn't escape the pain. She needed something more. Kovu's desperate roar, which sounded like a lament from the depths of the jungle, would not be in vain. It would reach ears that, can you believe it, were miles away, but tuned to the call of life. Kovu's desperate roar didn't get lost in the wind, nor did it dissipate among the trees. It traveled, carried by the morning's humid air, to the attentive ears of two unlikely heroes, Ethan and Tabo. They were park rangers from Kruger National Park, men who dedicated their lives to protecting wildlife. At that moment, they were patrolling, smelling the damp earth and the distant sounds of nature. Suddenly, Kovu's sequence of strong roars cut through the morning peace. It wasn't the usual roar of a dominant male. It was different, charged with unmistakable distress. They knew something was terribly wrong. Experience told them a lion rarely showed such desperation without a serious reason. Have you ever had that strong intuition that you need to act, even without having all the information? That's exactly what Ethan and Tabo felt. They approached with the caution of those entering the territory of wild kings and queens, their vehicles leaving the scent of diesel in the air. The silence, previously serene, was now heavy, charged with the tension that nature seemed to hold in its hands. They spotted the scene. Nala writhing, Kovu in despair. The danger was palpable. Intervening in the birth of a wild lioness is something that takes your breath away just thinking about it. But Nala's life and the promise of new cubs was at stake. Ethan, the more experienced, made the decision few would have the courage to make. Slowly he approached, his movements firm and controlled. In his hands, not a weapon, but medicine, analgesics to relieve Nala's excruciating pain, and crucially, fertility medication to assist the birth process. Did you know that wild lions rarely need human help to give birth? The fact that Ethan was there already indicated the severity of the situation. This attitude of courage, of going beyond the call of duty to help a living being in distress, is a lesson in empathy that all of us can apply in our daily lives, don't you think? Who hasn't seen someone needing help and hesitated? Ethan didn't hesitate, and it was that audacity that would begin to rewrite the destiny of that family. With the medication slowly taking effect on Nala's exhausted body, a momentary peace descended upon the scene. The air, once thick with pain, now carried a faint hope, almost a whisper. Ethan, with incredible expertise and a care that only love and devotion to wildlife can provide, continued his assistance. Every move he made was precise, every touch gentle. Kovu, though still vigilant, noticed the change in Nala's state and watched, the tension subtly diminishing in his posture. Have you ever seen how the presence of someone you trust can calm a chaotic moment? That's a powerful lesson. And then, the unthinkable happened. With Ethan's dedicated help, Nala began to give birth. One by one, amidst softer groans and an effort that was still immense, but now possible, the tiny lion cubs came into the world. First one, then another, and to the surprise and emotion of all, a third. Each small body that emerged brought with it a new breath of life, a surge of hope that swept away the pain and fear. The scent of damp earth and new life mingled in the air, an indescribable aroma of rebirth. It's fascinating how life finds a way no matter how difficult. Did you know that lions can have 1 to 6 cubs per litter, but 3 is an optimal number for the mother to care for them well? The birth of these 3 cubs was not just a natural event, it was a miracle, a testament to the connection that formed there between wild instinct and human compassion. Those tiny beings, fragile and newly arrived, represented not only the future of their family, but also living proof that the right intervention, at the right moment, can rewrite history. Who isn't moved by the sight of new life arriving? With the 3 precious cubs now nestled close to Nala, who, though exhausted, had a mother's glow in her eyes, the atmosphere in the forest changed dramatically. The tension dissolved, giving way to an almost sacred serenity. It was then that Kovu, the protective father, began his approach. His steps were slow and cautious, his eyes fixed on the small beings who now represented his legacy. There was no longer the roar of despair, only the soft sound of his paws on the earth and the beating of his own heart. Have you ever felt that moment of absolute silence that precedes a great emotion, as if the whole world was holding its breath? He approached Nala, who was still recovering from the heroic birth, and delicately sniffed the cubs. It was a mix of curiosity, pride, and a newfound love that emanated from him. A curiosity about male lions. Although they generally don't directly care for the cubs, the bond with the mother and the protection of the territory are crucial for the litter's survival. Kovu, however, showed atypical affection, a deep recognition of his little miracles. This behavior, which transcends basic instinct, makes us wonder, what does it truly mean to be a parent regardless of species? As the lion family united in a silent embrace in the wild nature, Ethan and Tabo, the park rangers, watched from a safe distance. The relief on their faces was palpable, and Ethan's tear-filled eyes didn't hide his profound emotion. To see life triumph like that, love blossom where there had been despair, is a reward no money can buy. They felt the soft wind caressing their faces, carrying with it the sweet scent of victory. This experience of witnessing a miracle of nature and being a part of it is something that changes a person forever. Have you ever had a moment in life that made you cry from pure joy and gratitude? It probably wasn't very different from what these men felt. As the soft light of dusk began to paint the sky, the lion family, now complete and stronger than ever, began to move away. Nala, still with the grace of a queen but with a new purpose, led the way, her fragile and curious cubs following closely, sometimes stumbling in the tall grass. Kovu, the protector, walked right behind, his imposing presence ensuring everyone's safety. It was the beginning of a new journey in nature, a newly written chapter in the vast tapestry of Kruger National Park wildlife. With every step they took, you could hear the sound of dry leaves crunching under their paws, a sound celebrating the life reborn. Ethan and Tabo, the park rangers who had defied the impossible, watched the scene until the silhouette of the lion family disappeared into the distance. They could no longer intervene. Nature had to take its course. Their hearts were filled with deep emotion and a satisfaction that few experience. That day was not just another day at work. It was a day when they became part of a miracle, a curiosity. Did you know that park rangers like Ethan and Tabo often live in conditions of constant risk, dedicating their lives to conservation, away from their own families for long periods? Their resilience is inspiring. They then boarded their vehicle, the scent of sweat and adrenaline still lingering on their clothes. They left, carrying with them not only the memory of the birth and the rescue, but the certainty that they had fulfilled their mission in a way that transcended duty. This story is a vivid reminder that overcoming challenges is not just about what we achieve, but about how much we are willing to give of ourselves for others. Who isn't touched by a story of dedication and altruism? They left behind a lion family with a future and carried with them proof that courage and trust can build bridges where there was once only distance. The cycle of life had restarted with unexpected help, and the lesson that remained was even more powerful. This story of Kovu and Nala, of park rangers Ethan and Tabo, and the miracle that unfolded in Kruger National Park is much more than a tale of wildlife. It is a powerful echo of the profound connection that can exist between humans and wild animals, an invisible bond forged in moments of extreme need and manifested through love, trust, and devotion. Have you ever stopped to think about how animals, even without speaking our language, can touch us so deeply? It's as if they understand our very soul. Nala, a wild and powerful lioness, allowed the intervention of a human being in one of her most vulnerable moments. Kovu, the king of the jungle, restrained his protective instinct to allow help to come. This isn't just instinct. It's mutual trust, a lesson that barriers can be broken when there's a greater purpose. Did you know that in some cases wild animals can develop a form of gratitude or recognition for those who help them, even if it's a subtle behavior? This ability to interact and cooperate, even between such distinct species, is one of nature's greatest mysteries and beauties. This chronicle teaches us that empathy has no species boundaries. The birth of those lion cubs, facilitated by human courage and compassion, is a vivid reminder that we are all part of an interconnected ecosystem. Every life matters. Every gesture of love and care resonates. The story of Kovu and Nala is an invitation to reflect on our own place in the world and how we can extend a hand to those in need, whether human or animal. And you, what is the greatest lesson an animal has ever taught you about life? The saga of Kovu and Nala, of park rangers Ethan and Tabo, now echoes not only across the savannas of Kruger National Park, but in every heart that opened to this emotional animal story. What we've seen is more than a birth or a rescue. It's living proof that life, in its wildest and purest form, carries with it the ability to teach us the deepest lessons about love, trust, overcoming challenges, and the extraordinary connection between humans and wild animals. It's a true miracle that shocked the world, showing that devotion to wildlife can change destinies. This chronicle reminds us that nature is a tireless teacher. It shows us that family is a refuge, that courage is essential in the face of the unknown, and that empathy transcends any barrier. Who could have imagined that a desperate lion's roar would pave the way for such a moving act of human heroism? That's the magic of stories like Kovu and Nala. They not only entertain us but transform us, inspiring us to look at the world with more sensitivity and to value every living being. If this story warmed your heart and made you reflect on the beauty and resilience of life, please leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other chronicles that will move you even more. And you, have you ever had an animal that changed your life or taught you a great lesson? Tell us in the comments. Your experience can inspire many others. If this story ignited a flame in your heart, the next video suggested by YouTube will move you even more. Don't miss it.